Did you get into gold farming but you couldn't stand playing for such a long time actively and you wish there was a more lazy method? Well, today I have two very lazy methods. In one of them, you just keep going forever. You don't need to turn off your computer, you can just let it run overnight. It's obviously by far not as efficient as actively playing, but you still get a decent amount of gold and honestly, it's not bad. And the second method, that is also quite a lazy one, but here you have to actively do something. It's more lazy as in you don't actually play, where you earn around 4x every 10 to 12 seconds. Reality is a bit different since you also have to give inputs and select stuff, you know, so it's a bit longer, but I would say around 4x per 20 seconds. That's 12x per minute, or 360x per 30 minutes that you spend on this, if you can optimize it. So, I would say let's take a quick look at them, and hopefully afterwards you have some new methods that you can use to farm golden eggs. Now, first of all, we have to talk about when should you do this. And to be fair, you could do both of them right away. Like the infinite one, obviously that doesn't matter, you can do it always, since all you need is 9 armor, you need the bloody whip, you know, to recover your health forever, or you just need to have enough regeneration that you will never die. So if you have a low egg count, not enough regeneration, like let's say regeneration around 6-7 should be enough, otherwise just go for the whip. And if you want to do the egg farming, this one is more complicated the lower you are. The lower your level is, the longer it will take to kill them. But that would also mean if you would do gold runs, you would get way less gold, right? So it kind of makes sense. Let's begin with the strategy where you just infinitely go on forever and let the game burn up your computer. All you need to do is play on the new stage, the Capella Magna. This is the best one because you get a 90% gold bonus, 10% luck bonus, and it spawns a lot of enemies post 30 minutes. So the entire strategy is simply do not evolve Clock Lancet, you don't even need to take it, because if you don't kill the Reaper with the infinite corridor, then he doesn't drop eggs, and the white hand will never spawn. That is the white Reaper that will just kill you. So it keeps going on forever. Now this is nothing special compared to any other stage. They will also keep going on forever. However, here it spawns a ton of enemies. Build-wise, there's nothing that I can fully recommend to you. Now, I want to point out some things. Firachi is always amazing, however, if you can't kill them before they get to you, Labora is an amazing defensive weapon. Also, Death Spiral, once you have a lot of high stats, you know, and you go for Slash, the crits just kill everything and it just keeps going and going and going. So overall, I would say you just have to fiddle around a bit, you have to test around a bit what weapons work well for the character that you have and the egg count that you have. This is where it gets a bit rough in these guides, because I don't know what you have, you know. I can't give you a guide for every single point of progression you might have right now. One thing that you should know is that in the game, the amount stat is capped to plus 10. So while it can show you, like for me, plus over 20, you know, it only applies plus 10 to it. There is a new Arcana, I forgot its name right now, but it gives you plus 3 amount on your starting weapon and plus 1 on all other weapons. This amount, this bonus amount, goes around this cap and adds it on top. Also with Firachi, it's not just the plus 10 amount, and in my case with Pugnala, another plus 3 from the Arcana, but also plus 10 from revivals. So if you would count my beams, you would find a total of 27 beams, 10 from a mount, 10 from a rival, 3 from the Arcana, and 4, which is the base value. That is why I love taking Firachi overall. Not only is it insanely strong, and it doesn't cause a lot of lag for the game in comparison to, for example, Gatia Mari, which will just lag out your game like crazy, and you pretty much don't need more. Like the other weapons that I went for in this run here, they are just there because I tend to use them, but you know, once you have enough eggs, you actually don't need more weapons. You pretty much just need one weapon that clears everything. Now, in regards to power-ups, I have all the power-ups, and I would highly advise to go for as much curse as possible. The enemies beyond 30 minutes, they die really fast, but you have to check how this is for you, you know. If they die very quickly for you or not, for me, they die near instantly. And that means whenever they respawn, because of the insanely high curse, an insane amount of them respawns, but they also walk super quickly towards me, right? Now in the video I'm using hurry mode. I tested both. I haven't found a difference that is really significant. Like, it doubles the time, right? So, like, okay, you might say it just doubles the time. What is the special thing about it? Whenever you play in hurry mode, on the stages after 30 minutes, there are some spawns that happen that do not happen if you don't play on hurry mode. So, before this patch, this was already on the innate library, the ghosts would fly towards you and attempt to explode. So, my theory was, if I want to do this, then I want to play in hurry mode, and I get additional spawns. Now, one issue could be that it takes so long to kill the Red Death, that eventually the entire screen is covered with them, and nothing can spawn anymore. I don't view this as a real threat, because it deals so much damage that you will end up just killing them eventually. But if you're concerned with this, just don't play on hurry mode, and you should get pretty much the same results that I had. Now on this stage there's nothing too significant that I can talk about, you just play normally through it. I would honestly not recommend it to do this in the very beginning. So let's talk a bit about the egg progression that you would have in the game, right? Before we get to the new method of egg farming. So initially you would start off egg farming on Moongolo. That is maybe the easiest start. For me it was like a bit meh. The issue is that you have to evolve the Clock Lancet, and you can either go for the evolved Laurel to have a guaranteed game, or you only go for Laurel, and then you pray that you stay alive for 1.5 minutes. That can be quite a risky gamble, but it should work out. So if you kill all the Guardians there, if you kill the mini Guardians, the 3 that appear there, and you kill the Red Death, then you end up with a total of 12 eggs or an amount of gold worth 120k, and of course all the gold that you earned while you did the run, but that is probably not too much because you were focusing on moving around, leveling up, instead of actually actively looking for gold, you know. Soon after that, I would say around maybe 500x or so, you will switch over to the Bone Zone. Now, many people calculate this just by 15 minutes versus 30 minutes, but that is technically not true. You have to add the time that it takes to kill the Death, which is initially 1.5 minutes. And since on Moongolo you want to do 2 runs where you do 1 on Bone Zone, this is also doubled. And of course all the interactions are doubled. So, you know, leveling up, suddenly you have twice as many weapons because you do 2 runs. Doing the interactions on the end screens to get on the stage again, right, stuff like this, all of that is doubled. So I would say a run on the Bone Zone ends around maybe 33 to 35 minutes, you know. But on Moongolo, an entire run that is just 15 minutes in-game time takes around 20 minutes. So if you double that, it's not exactly half the amount of time, and I think that's very important to keep in mind. And the Bone Zone is, in my opinion, by far the best zone. I made a video about the Gallow Tower, how you can farm there, and the Gallow Tower in theory is a lot better because way more enemies spawn, which means you get way more gold, and yes, it is better. I had better results on Gallow Tower at times, but it really depends when you get the gold back once it expires, right? So to understand the gold fever just keeps running and running and running, and the longer it runs, the faster the bar at the bottom expires or runs out. Okay, so eventually it will just go zoom and it's instantly gone, while originally, at the very beginning, it takes 10 seconds. And that means every couple 3 to 4 minutes, I would say, you're forced to find a gold bag, and if you can't do that, if you have downtime, then this will significantly hurt your gold income. Now with an insanely high luck chance, you will find a lot of gold bags, or rather you will have a ton of candles that spawn, a lot of breakables that spawn, and you'll be able to get that again. So yes, Gallow Tower is definitely better in regards to that, but aside from that, it really depends on your account. You do this once you have a ton of eggs, and maybe you want to start maxing out another character, because there are stat limits in the game, negative 90% cooldown reduction, 900% might and area, 400% speed and duration, 10 for amount, 10 for revivals in regards to Farachi. Luck is of course capped because, well, if you hit the maximum, like you can't go beyond 100%, right? Then it doesn't do anything anymore, while it still goes up. And even retaliation is capped at, I think it was 50. That means if you go beyond that with the armor, it just doesn't add to it. And then of course curse, which is not capped. That means while you don't scale up anymore, the curse scale will go up, which spawns more enemies faster and they have more health. So that might be a point where you actually don't want to continue, because eventually you might not end up killing the enemies anymore. Now let's get to the farming method I was talking about, and you see clips running in the background where I was doing it and testing it on different stages. And first of all, spoilers, is there any difference between stages? No. I don't know how the very first run of Gallow Tower ended so insanely quickly that made me assume that the Guardians are just super weak there for some reason. Like, it was by far the fastest one in there, and even later on when I also get the new weapon again, it made no significant impact on the timer on other stages. Now what I want to recommend to you is get Gatti Amari. If you have Gatti Amari and you beat on the Guardians, they will die at around 12 seconds if you have my account. For you this will of course take longer, but whenever they have this cloud of fighting, they attack 33 times a second. That is the most any of the weapons do, the most DPS, the highest DPS you can reach with any weapon, and that is the reason why they get shredded so insanely quickly. To make this work, you of course need a new Arcana that pulls in all the items from the map, and then you only need to pick up the rings, you need to pick up the arrows, you can just discard them or you can get them. I would recommend just getting them and then picking up 2 more passive weapons, because then no more passive weapons can show up on level ups, at least not, you know, the ones that you don't own, and you can just quickly look for Gatti Amari, since this will of course take some time to do it, and that technically makes the entire timer worse. So if I killed them at 12 seconds in-game time, but I took 10 seconds to search for Gatti Amari, well then it actually took 22 seconds to do this entire thing. But yes, those are the 2 new gold farming strategies that I think work amazingly well, and I hope they work well for you too. Have fun farming!